Off, Kirsten?
Sure. Thanks everyone for joining us this evening. I know it's a nicer night out tonight, so it means all the more to have you with us tonight. We will be giving you updates from where the project is thus far, and I will be moderating questions in the chat, so feel free to leave any questions that you have there, and we can see if, answering those along the way, but we also will have time at the end to answer any additional questions. And I think that's about it.
Okay. Again, welcome and introductions here. So I think we'll have the presenters introduce as they jump on, but we do have project staff here to cover project material and introduce themselves. So the last person you heard is Kirsten Yeager. She's with our community outreach, and she will be moderating this. And I think we let everybody know that we are recording this, so it'll be able to post it on our website for review later on. My name is Nick Landwehr. I am the Director of Engineering and Design for the project. So again, thank you for showing up, and we'll keep moving on. Next slide, please. Oop, lost her presentation. So we're going to wait.
Did my screen share just stop?
We lost the slide, Kaja.
Okay.
At least I did.
Cool. How about now?
There we go. Back to welcome. So what we're going to cover today is just a project overview. So this is really just to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to learn about the project. We're going to go over the whole corridor today and just kind of talk briefly about the whole project, all 13.5 miles of it, from Brooklyn Park down south to Minneapolis to Target Field Station, where we connect with the existing Blue Line. So we'll have a schedule. We'll do an environmental update, talk a little bit about design decisions in each community, and then have an anti-displacement update about the anti-displacement report that has just recently been produced, and then have time for questions at the end of the presentation.
Nick, I just want to pause for a second to make sure that everyone can see the screen now. I know internally we can, but Kate mentioned in the chat that she's having some issues seeing it. Can I get some thumbs up if people can see the screen? Oh, there we go. Comment can see it just fine. Okay, perfect. Thank you for the participation. Go for it, Nick.
So fun of virtual. So again, we're going to do a quick project overview here. And so next slide, please. And so just a little bit about the project. As I talked about before, this whole project is within Hennepin County, and it directly connects the downtown with Minneapolis, Robbinsdale, Crystal, and Brooklyn Park on the very north end, and then would serve the northwest communities of the metro area is what it's intended for. So the communities that it's going to, and surrounding communities with that. Where we are with the project right now, we are in a planning phase here as we look at our route and some of the options in it, and we are working on producing a supplemental draft and a final environmental impact statement. So we've already did this work previously with the project, but as we've regrouped and modified the route for the project here, and since June 2022, we are working on that environmental process, and we'll learn a little bit more about that here today. And then public engagement is ongoing for this project. So you can reach out to project staff via our website. We have our comms and outreach people here. We're having virtual meetings like this, and we're making sure that we get out in the public and meet with folks where you're at. So our hope here with this project and where we're going for is to have a recommendation this summer for the preferred route. So the preferred option, narrow down the options along the route, but preferred route, and then that would be studied in the supplemental environmental impact statement. Next slide, please. So this is a reminder slide that, you know, that would be this alignment, this project is part of the Metro Transit's Metro system. So this is the high frequency, high capacity alignments along there. So that includes the existing blue line and green line, the blue line that comes from Mall of America up to Target Field Station through the airport into Minneapolis, and then the green line from downtown St. Paul to downtown Minneapolis and Target Field Station. You know, and currently under construction is the Southwest, the Green Line extension, and then this is the Blue Line extension. And then there are other projects that are in development phase right now, like the Riverview Corridor. And then also included in our high frequency, high capacity lines are our bus rapid transit routes that include our orange, red, and gold line, which is under construction. Purple line is in planning phase, and then our lettered BRT routes, the A, C, and D line that are open right now. The B is under construction, and then there's alignments E through H that are in either planning or starting to have construction soon on them. So the next slide here is a map of the different alignments, and this kind of shows how we're creating a backbone for the transit system here with these high capacity, high frequency lines. So as you go in the middle of the screen up from the south to the north to downtown is the blue line. And then this would be the extension of the blue lines leaving Target Field Station and then heading north into Brooklyn Park. You see the green line going east and west across the page. The existing solid line is the line en route. The dash line is the line that is under construction here. And then you can see the different colored BRT lines, bus rapid transit lines, and then some of the lettered lines, bus rapid transit lines on there too, the ones that are either in operation that are in solid, or the dash ones that are in planning or construction phase. So what the blue line does is it's fast and frequent, reliable. You go to the station, you don't have to have a schedule because the next train is going to be coming in your direction within a few minutes there. And you know, one of the benefits of the Blue Line extension, you know, most people maybe only ride a couple stations to get to where they're going to their destination, whether it's an appointment, school, work, or things like that, or connections to other transit. But it would provide a single seat ride to the downtown areas, to the Mall of America, to the International Airport, or you can do a quick transfer in the downtown area to get on connect with the Green Line. Next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit about project schedule. You know, we've identified a route along here. We've got some route options with this project. So we are now in the green box, the planning box, where we're doing our environmental review work. After we've identified those road options, we bring those farther ahead in engineering. We seek municipal consent with our partner cities along the alignment on the design that we're going forward with, and we begin that engineering phase here. So where we identify in the engineering phase those locations are stations, where the LRT is going, where the pedestrian and bicycle access is to the stations, and how we get across. And we also do stationary planning. So that means not just the station itself, but the planning, work with our project partners about how the area around that station is developed and convenient for access to those stations and the community around it. And then you can see in the purple, we have a year and a half to 2 years of engineering that we will go into, where we pull together our construction plans and get those plans ready for bid, and then take them out to bid. We continue on with stationary planning during that phase, and then you'll see in that orange area is our construction phase. So there's about 3 to 4 years of construction for the entire project. So again, it's 13.5 miles. So it's not 3 to 4 years of construction in one spot. We try to expedite the construction that's happening in any one spot, but the overall corridor is about 3 to 4 years of construction. So our goal is to open this line for revenue service for passengers around 2029 timeframe. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to my colleague Kelsey Young to do an environmental update.
Thanks, Nick. I'm an environmental project manager here with Metro Transit and here to do an environmental update for Blue Line Extension. If you've been with us for other presentations, this is the same information, but we're in the process of working on a supplemental draft EIS, as Nick highlighted earlier. This will lead us in the future towards preparing a supplemental final environmental impact statement. And that's where the impacts related to the preferred alternative and mitigation commitments, where those items are finalized. So we're working on the supplemental draft EIS currently and hope to share more information about impacts in the coming months, with publication anticipated towards the end of the year or early next year. Next slide. To highlight, our environmental review considers a full range of topics. Sometimes when we think about environmental review, we think about more natural resources, but we do consider a full range of social and economic impacts as well. So full range of topics that you can see here, and happy to answer more questions about these analyses later, or you can follow up with us. Next slide. So while we do look at a full range of topics, and we look at that full range for all of the options under consideration in the environmental review, we would anticipate that kind of a smaller subset of topic areas would be more differentiating factors as it relates, particularly in Minneapolis, where we have multiple options under study, where there may be more differences between the options under study in some of these topic areas here, such as businesses and residential properties that are impacted, historic properties, contaminated sites. So often that's more past land uses at a location, visual quality, noise, construction impacts. We know that construction is disruptive or can be. We also look at community character and cohesion, and in this corridor, environmental justice and equity are key considerations. And we would anticipate that amongst other decision-making factors that these topic areas would be factors that would help inform a preferred option selection in the future. I think that's the end of the environmental slides here. Turn it over to design.
Thank you. Sorry, my mic was disabled. I'm Boyan Misic. I'm with Hennepin County, and I'm engineering manager for the project. I'm actually in the office, the project office. So the design decisions, this is going to be just a summary of main decisions we have developed with project partners, all the cities, the county, Metro Transit, the public through public outreach, through engagement with City Council. So you might have seen all some of these if you have been following us for the last few months. This slide just shows project design principles, and this principle basically guides our design in our coordination with everybody who is involved in the project. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but I do want to emphasize the second to the last one, that everything we do on the project, everything that's designed, station, access to the station, we do want to prioritize people who are walking, biking, and rolling to the station, because those are the people who use the LRT. So when you talk about crossing the roadways and any access to the stations, we do take that very seriously, and we take that into a great consideration. Next slide, please. And this is just a little sketch or metaphor how the engineering progresses, or will progress once we have the final decision on the alignment. We go from 30% to 60, and then finally at 90, and really the 30% is just a kind of sketch, as we know, define all the major design elements and finalize design criteria, and then we take those along to 60% design plans, and then 90% as well. Next slide, please. So we'll start north with Brooklyn Park, and really not a whole lot has changed since 2016 when we had a final environmental impact study. The light rail is still on West Broadway Avenue. We have 4 stations: Oak Grove, 93rd, 85th Avenue, and Brooklyn Boulevard. And what's not really shown on the slide on the right side is the operation and maintenance facility will be located in Brooklyn Park, just north of Highway 610. The LRT will be in the median center running, and I guess one thing that is new and different is that the reconstruction and expansion of West Broadway is now part of the project, and that's from Brooklyn Boulevard to 93rd Avenue. Next slide, please. And then just southern part of Brooklyn Park, we're still running in the median of this time of County Road 81. And then the southern station in Brooklyn Park is at 63rd Avenue. It's in the center, in the median, at grade. And the design principle that I mentioned earlier, we will be now evaluating closer the intersection options and all the access and safety for everybody who will be using the station. Next slide, please. And this is just a slide that shows how we go from West Broadway to County Road 81. It will be on structure bridge. And what's different from the previous alignment when we planned on going in the PNSF or railroad right away, is that not having to cross both north and south lanes on traffic, we were able actually to lower this bridge structure by about 8 feet, because County Road 81 is a moving route. So in order to accommodate for the tall trucks, this structure would have been about 25 feet or more. So in this case, only crossing one side, so we don't have to do that anymore. So it saves on the size of the structure and cost. Next slide. I think we are going to still have a Brooklyn Park. So this is just an example of access to the station. This is 63rd Avenue station. The orange line that you see, it's a pedestrian bridge that will take LRT users from the station to the parking right that's existing Metro Transit parking right. So we'll still this is just the initial take on this. We'll still have to evaluate the intersection and how all the modes of transportation cross this, and not only this intersection, but any intersection along the alignment. Next slide. We'll move down to Crystal. So in Crystal, again, we are still the same. The alignment is still within the median of County Road 81. Station 63rd Avenue Station is in Brooklyn Park, but it does serve. It will serve the north part of Crystal. So the people who live on the south of 62nd Avenue will have access to the station, and again, we'll be focusing on detail work, how best to access that station. The second station in the first station in Crystal is at Bass Lake Road. You can see it on the bottom right corner. We had actually, as an example, kind of what we've done so far to and what we'll be doing to assess the access to all the stations. For this station in Bass Lake Road, we evaluated two different options. One option was just to see what would happen if the light rail is a grade, so basically running along the both sides of the traffic. And we also evaluated structure, structure that will carry County Road 81 over Bass Lake Road, and in that case, the station will be kind of at the same level as Bass Lake Road. It will be at the bottom, and we will have, I think, next couple of slides may show that. This one is the existing shows the existing picture of County Road 81 and Bass Lake Road intersection. It has the six very wide 6 lanes, and we are evaluating. The traffic study will be evaluating capacity and intersection operation at this location and others, and it will serve as it will help us to refine the station design and access. Next slide, please. So this is at grade intersection. This is what would happen if we have light rail introduced at the existing intersection at grade. This kind of colorful spaghetti ball shows you all the different conflicts that could happen with light rail, with cars turning, and also pedestrian crossing. So on that little summary, it shows you number of crossing and how many merging actions we have, and then how many pedestrian conflicts we have. So it's pretty complicated. So for that reason, if we go to the next slide, please. So for that reason, we looked into these doing some separating traffic and pedestrian access to the station. So you can see County Road 81 on top, and shows 2 lanes versus existing 3, and then so it technically becomes an interchange with ramps going down towards the Bass Lake Road. And if you look in between the 2 bridges, you can see the station, the LRT running in the middle, in between, with the station in between. And next slide, please. And this is just a bird's eye view or plan view of the same picture you saw. The orange is represents the bridges. Blue is a light rail, and the yellow is a station with a pedestrian approach. And the white line that goes kind of up and down towards the parking lot there, that shows you the way the pedestrian will be crossing that the whole span from parking right to station, from both sides of the station. What we found on this one is that the amount we also looked at the option of where everything's on a grade at the same level. We would have to provide overpass, like a pedestrian overpass over the whole road and station. And in that case, it will take about 8 minutes to climb that structure and cross it and come down and cross onto the other side of County Road 81. And it would be about almost quarter mile, 1/4 of a mile long. In this case, it's a lot shorter, maybe like half of that, about and then provides we think provides a lot safer crossing under County Road. And it's a lot flatter too. You don't have to climb the whole structure. So this is just the same colorful spaghetti ball we had earlier. It's like a lot simplified now. There's still pedestrian conflict, still cars merging and crossing, but it's a lot simpler, and a lot less potential for accidents. Next. Okay, we're in Robbinsdale. So in Robbinsdale, we've in a coordination, in a design and coordination with the city and city council and public outreach and independent engineering group that helped the city. We have determined, the city have determined, the city council have determined that the station, they would prefer to have a station on the south side of 40th Avenue, just going adjacent to the Elam church there. And that station will be at grade again. And then as a potential site for a parking ride, they determined that the existing US Bank site, just going to get a corner there from the station, would be a good location for that. So we'll be taking this further and evaluating now the size of the structure and what it looks like and how many parking stalls and what else can be done at that location, because I think the bank raised bank would like to still stay at some form or another at that location. Next slide, please. This is the most southern station in Robbinsdale. This is at Lowry Station. It's located just south of the North Memorial Hospital, which is on the left side of the screen. Again, the orange is the bridge. So this is actually would be an elevated station, and it would have two vertical circulations or elevators and stairs on each side going up and down. But it will provide good access to the hospital that has about, 3,500 or so employees there. So I think that maybe the next slide was going to show what that may, like a better look of 3D view of what that may look like. Over to your left is the hospital, or hospital's parking structure. And then there's Oakdale Avenue going towards Lowry, crossing under West Broadway there. You can see the elevated station, as I mentioned, the bridge piers, and then those two kind of rectangular boxing-looking things on each side of the stations are the vertical circulation, the elevators, stairs that would provide access to the platform. And then we are in Minneapolis, so everything up to now has been all these decisions been pretty well defined so far. As we move down to Minneapolis, we will have some options to the alignment. The first station, as we come south from Robbinsdale, is a Penn station located just north of Penn. And again, this is just a general location. As we keep looking into design and evaluating, this may shift here and there, but it's going to be in somewhere here as shown. And again, this is all still running in the center of West Broadway, with traffic going on either side. And the little circles that you saw, they're going to be signalized intersections. So then after Penn Avenue, we have two route options. We have light rail, whether we're still evaluating whether the light rail will be on West Broadway or on 21st Avenue. And I think that came, these two options now, the reason we have options is again through coordination with and public outreach and all the open houses we've had for past year or so, that people have raised their voice that library along West Broadway has impact, and so does the one on 21st Avenue. But we did look at both, and we're still looking at both options to see which one would be better, or which one would serve the project and the people the best. Next slide. I guess the only other thing to, I guess, yeah, we can go next slide. I think talks about two station. So the other item that still needs to be determined is whether to have 1 or 2 stations on, again, either on West Broadway or on the 21st. If one station option is chosen, it would be at Emerson DuPont, just along the West Broadway. And if the 2 stations are chosen, if you go to the next slide, Kasha, please. And the 2 station will be at James Avenue, and then Brian Aldrich along the West Broadway. And again, we'll be evaluating which option would serve this area as the most. We do want to have the most the best access to the station and serve them as many people as we could. So whether 1 or 2, sometimes it's kind of counterintuitive, but if you have more stations, it doesn't always help the line, and people, if it takes too long, people may not choose to use it. So there's a lot of consideration that goes into deciding how many stations to include, but we are looking in this area whether to have 1 or 2. Next slide, please. So this is one. And then this just shows you 1 station and Emerson DuPont if we choose to go on 21st Avenue, or if it's determined that alignment will go on the 21st. There will be still access again from 21st to West Broadway. And I'm not going fast because we still have a few slides to go, and I do want to leave some time for enter displacement and any questions. Again, this is just another slide that shows 2 stations at James Avenue and Brian Aldrich on 21st. Next slide. The other area where we still have several options on a table is as we turn south towards Target Field Station. We've looked into having a Lyndale Avenue as the preferred alignment in the past. So basically, you would go along 7th Street from Target Field and from downtown Minneapolis, and then go Lyndale Avenue to either West Broadway or 21st Avenue. And again, from hearing what others have to say about this, because engineers do design, but we try to listen what the city and the public have to say. So we are still looking and evaluating the east of I-94 options. So what the purple line, I guess, so pink line. I apologize for my color blindness, but it shows the alignment kind of running on the east side of I-94. It kind of starts at the same location, goes up 6th Avenue, 7th, and then turns onto 10th before going into the public right away, MnDOT right away near the 3rd, and then goes kind of keeps going parallel with I-94, and then turns left to East Broadway, West Broadway, or 21st. And either of those 2 options will have to be on the bridge, on the structure, and using West Broadway potentially could be used as at grade, so without the structure as well. And next slide. I think that was the last one. So I apologize if I went too fast, but there will be time for questions, I believe, at the end. And anti-displacement is next. And we have also Hennepin County employer, Kathy Gold, presenting that.
Good evening, everybody. Hi again, I'm Kathy Gold with Hennepin County Public Works Transit Mobility Department. And I'm here to talk about the anti-displacement work. We just recently did receive the recommendation report, and I'm really happy to have that in front of us as a way to progress this work. So I'll step back in time a little bit and give a little bit of background for those who are hearing this for the first time. The work group was comprised of community members, philanthropic representatives, along with government staff. And that included corridor cities, Metropolitan Council, Hennepin County, Minneapolis Parks and Recreation Board. And that was done to help facilitate conversation in a more fluent way, where government could listen to what community was bringing as far as concerns and ways to mitigate displacement in the corridor. And then the staff from these government agencies could go back internally and discuss with tables with staff that are very in line with the conversation, and bring it back for just that more fluent conversation, making sure that we were making progress within. You know, we wanted to make sure that all these strategies that we were coming up with to help mitigate displacement are going to benefit the current corridor residents and businesses, and help to minimize the physical, cultural, and economic displacement. So this would be businesses, residents, and also cultural displacement that we were looking at to mitigate. So we held 5 workshops. They were all-day workshops on Saturdays from very early morning till the evening time, and felt like this was the best means to get the conversation moving, where we weren't stopping constantly and then having another meeting in another week and then having to revisit things over again. And I have to say that it was very much functional. You know, there were times when people were very passionate about it, which they should be. This is hard work. This is really emotional work. And, you know, this is work that really has never been done alongside of an infrastructure project before. So I'm really pleased to say that, you know, we worked through a lot of content and got to a place that recommendations were actually put into a report with outcomes that provided a path forward for implementation. So we're looking to implement and understand which of these recommendations happen before, during, and after construction, so that we can prioritize them accordingly to that time frame and make them available to people to benefit and mitigate displacement. So next slide, please. So in the end, the report, it is viewable for you on yourblueline.org/anti-displacement, as well as all of the meeting information from all 5 of those workshops that I described. There's the meeting materials. There's a video there if you so choose to watch. There's a summary of the report if you don't choose to watch an 8-hour video. There's also ways that you can provide your input, or if you have questions on the report, or take a survey about the report there too. So there's varying ways to get the information or ask questions and get that back to you. So in the end, the report did provide 17 policies that help support the recommended outcomes. And you'll see in the report that the outcomes are provided in a geographical kind of way. Minneapolis has its own outcomes. Robbinsdale and Crystal teamed up and did their outcomes together. And then Brooklyn Park also has outcomes. So as each cities are different, They demonstrated different needs, different outcomes that they were looking for out of this work. And so you'll see that there. There also is for each one of the policies, a lot of context around, what the policies would, how they would work, how they've worked in other areas. And when we started out in this work, we looked at 50 policies nationwide that have been put in place by other governments to understand really which ones we could start to use to lay the foundation of what we want to accomplish or the outcomes we want to achieve here. So in the end, we found 17 policies that we really think will help to get those outcomes achieved. Next slide, please. So alongside of this, a report is very academic, really. It's, it's a report. And so how do we make it more accessible and understandable to the general public? So we're setting forth right now, it's in the works, getting those summary materials in multiple formats that are accessible to people who have different language needs. In addition to, just concise information that's understandable. We'll have some varying mediums that we'll be putting this out to, and hoping that we can highlight this work with community voices behind it. And as I said, in digital, print, and radio, video, just all sorts of means to try and get the word out there, not only to get the word out there that this work is ongoing, but to get the feedback. We really want to make sure that people understand what we're trying to accomplish. And also, if there's any other ideas or other things that we should promote within this work, that we actually have those ideas that we can build off of and incorporate within the work. Next slide, please. And so we're at the end of our presentation. Kirsten, there you are.
Hi, thanks everyone, and thanks for dealing with those technical difficulties at the beginning there. We would love to stay connected with you all. It's great to have you part of this presentation this evening, and we hope we can continue the conversation. So if you haven't done so already, please check out our website. That's bluelineext.org. And if you scroll to almost the bottom of the page, you can sign up for our newsletter there if you haven't done so already. You can also follow us on social media or connect directly with those of us who are outreach coordinators, myself included, or Joanna or Kaja, and we can come speak to you individually, do presentations, answer any questions that you may have. And we want to hear your feedback as well about the project. So that being said, let's get to the questions. We had some great questions in the chat, and some of which have already been answered, but I'd like to share those out loud for everyone so that we can all be on the same page here. So Roy had asked whether or not a copy of the presentation would be available to the public, and we do post our materials and this recording, since this is being recorded, on the website. So those will all be on bluelineext.org under the events section there. And Kate had asked, when do we get to see the results of some of this research? And that was when we had been talking about the environmental review process. She said, we hear it's happening, but not evidence that it has. So, and then we got an answer from Kelsey that we plan to share preliminary information over this summer. And by all means, if any of the speakers want to elaborate on what was shared in the chat, feel free to jump in. Let's see here. Christopher asked, won't Broadway/81 be condensed to 2 lanes by the time it reaches the hospital? Nick, I see you jumping on there, and Nick also responded in the chat that West Broadway becomes 1 lane of traffic each direction just south of Lowry Avenue. And then Anya asked, how many stations will be in Robbinsdale? And the answer is there'll be 2. One will be downtown, and then the other one will be the Lowry station, which is close to North Memorial. Let's see here. Great, Kelsey's jumping on. Christopher asks, will your studies give estimates of ridership and train service impacts based on 2 routes on either side of I-94? And that, I believe, hasn't been answered yet. So let's start there. So once again, will your studies give estimates of ridership and train service impact based on the 2 routes on either side of 94?
I can answer that one, Kirsten. Well, we are working on ridership, and our ridership model is dependent on quite a few different factors, but it involves a whole regional model and all the transportation that's involved in that area. But basically for our alignment, it involves the length of the alignment, stations, where those stations are placed, and travel time of the alignment. So those are some of the key factors that are going in it. We're working on refining that model. It'll be helpful as we start narrowing down those options here to inform that model, and then we'll be coming out with a ridership. But we kind of got to focus on what that model is, or what the route is, to come up with the ridership. I'd say we can expect that our ridership it would be similar to what we had previously modeled on the previous alignment, knowing that it serves the same communities, the same areas of that. So we're pretty confident that the model will show that it needs that this is the magnitude of light rail ridership that it would be serving, meaning the volume of folks that would be using it.
Thanks, Nick. The next question was from Kate. I'm curious why the report, referring to the anti-displacement working group report, would recommend reparations for the Harrison neighborhood while not mentioning the destruction of the Lynn Park neighborhood or West Broadway businesses.
And I can take that. And Kate, thank you for the question. Through the community recommendations, we were looking at, the community brought up previous harms of the route, which was previous to this, which was going down Highway 55. That is the context behind the Harrison neighborhood recommendation. And Lynn Park neighborhood or West Broadway businesses not mentioned. There was these, again, are community recommendations. It didn't get specific into those, but there are other recommendations that will help mitigate any sort of displacement issues. But happy to hear what your thoughts and ideas are. If you want to go on to yourblueline.org and then the / anti-displacement page and provide your input and feedback, very much welcomed.
Thanks, Kathy. And then I think this is a follow-up question, so I'll jump forward and then move backwards. Kate asked, so we know they were harmed but continue to create new harms. And I'm assuming the they is the Harrison neighborhood.
So there was research done, Kate, and that's in the report as well, about the market rate. Also in conjunction with that too, I mean, there's other things going on, right? I mean, Harrison is aligned by Southwest and the old Blue Line route. And so not really understanding what pressures and when I talk about pressures, it's development pressures, so speculation on developers going in and buying property, whether it was the blue line or the green line prospectively, but just really understanding, what the market was showing in those particular areas. And again, the research and the information was all brought up from a collective standpoint from the community representative members. And then Kira did the research, and we formulated, the community group formulated the recommendations based on that work. Doesn't mean that things can't be added to this work. And so that's why that feedback is really important.
Thanks, Kathy. Another question from Roy, or comment. I don't recall crime or nuisance on the transit ever getting talked about in presentations. Is this aspect officially part of the project at all? And he elaborates, if I'm a rider, besides the advertised conveniences, I want to be safe and not have to see what's not meant to be seen.
Yeah, I think so. One of the things we talk about when we talk about safety and security in the project is make sure that our, as Brian brought up, there's everything that we do along that we want to make sure that we have a focus of safety, whether that's making sure that we're providing well lit, easy to access station areas and that are open, and there's not hiding spots on this. So there's a lot of things like that are considered in the design aspect of it. And then the other aspect is just what is happening. So in our current system, we know that there's been news and reports and things on there, safety and concerns about security that are being addressed right now by Metro Transit with the safety and security initiative, where they're getting doing things as simple as just making more clear our code of conduct and how you should be behaving on transit, so making that clear, but also to increase our presence and eyes on the vehicles. So making sure that we're getting more police officers on our force, making sure that they're on our transit system and riding that more often. I know that there are stations where they're focusing a little bit more, and maybe have even hired private security where they're having more problems. And then they're also offering assistance for folks to have professionals out there help with folks that maybe are having issues with like homelessness or drugs and things like that. So they're meeting on the train. So it's a multi-pronged approach that's trying to get those issues and sort them out. So.
Thanks, Nick. And I just dropped in the chat too, for those of you who are interested in exploring it more. Nick had mentioned the safety and security plan. It's pretty long. There's a lot of initiatives that Metro Transit is working on. But this page that I directed you to shares some of those highlights, and then you're of course welcome to dig deeper into that work as well and the progress being made on it. Okay, so Anya asked, can you speak at all about mandatory relocation assistance?
That might be a two-part answer here too, that I'll have Kathy, so there's both, if we have an impact on a property and there's right-of-way acquisition, we deal directly with those folks that would be impacted by the need for right-of-way. So, for instance, a building or a property needs to be purchased. We deal directly with those folks, work on appraisals, work on offers with them. If there's businesses in there, there's obligations that we have to do, rights that those folks have to do for relocation or, the right compensation. So that's just the standard right-of-way part. And we're still early in the process there in the design. We've identified, some properties that might be directly impacted. Our plans are pretty conservative right now, so they probably show more takings than we'll likely have. But we've reached out, I believe, to most of those property owners and had those conversations with them. So that's kind of that direct impact if there was an impact to a property. I'm not sure if that other part of the question is more directed towards the anti-displacement.
We're working through various recommendations and policies within the anti-displacement recommendations that deal with perhaps a right of entry. So having that first right of folks who may need to temporarily relocate, but bringing them back into the community and having the first right to come back into the community for their businesses, for their residential needs. So we're still working through how that will be accomplished from a jurisdictional standpoint, and then how that will be organized, but that's the intent around that policy.
Is there a hand up there, Kirsten?
Yeah, I'm gonna see. It looks like Michelle has her hand up, so let me see if I can unmute you here, Michelle. Okay, I believe you should be able to unmute yourself now, Michelle.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, hi. So yeah, I'm with Bob Rewards Club, and I went to the meeting last week. There is a growing opposition for it to be going down Broadway and Lowry. My question is, when do you plan on having that decision? That's one thing I did not hear. When is that date scheduled?
So I think you talked about the decision to go down Lowry or down Broadway. The decision
Yes.
is to go down Broadway. Now there's the options within that alignment that would, from, basically a Washington Avenue area, if we're on the east side of 94 to about James Avenue, there's an option to evaluate and look at using 21st as the transit only, and then leave that section of West Broadway just for vehicle traffic. So that we're trying to work through here in the next couple months here, working with the community and working with the city and Hennepin County on that. So that's within the next couple months. But the decision is to go down Broadway with the route.
Okay, so when was that decision made? Because I was told that decision wasn't going to be made until sometime like July.
When the decision was made by when the staff recommended, I'm trying to remember, a year ago was when we looked at a few different options, or a couple different options. It was, between, our route recommendation was between Lowry and West Broadway, and that happened over a year ago, and we've been moving forward with now what does that alignment look like, and then talking about certain options that are along it. So that's been in place for quite some time.
This is the first time hearing about that. And I'm involved with a lot of other business and community groups. We're doing the Juneteenth West Broadway Block Party coming up on Monday, June 19th. And part of the economic justice rally is going to include that blue light rail. There is a lot of opposition against it. And so I guess this is, this is all news to me about that even after talking with a few of the other people like Joan Van Hollen and so on, she even said that the decision wasn't going to be made yet. So this is news.
Okay.
So my concern is this too, is how you've gone about putting it all together to make that decision and the outreach. And I know that you guys, you've reached out to a few of the organizations, community organizations that do outreach, parks, recreation, or whatever all that is. However, I live in the area, and I know I haven't gotten a mailer or anything personal. And if I have not been one to get involved with Bob Rewards Club with it, I guess I wouldn't know anything. And I think a lot of the residents that are in the area feel the same way. So my concern is this. We're expecting about 5,000 people on June 19th. We do have one of the largest Juneteenth events. I think it's important to have some outreach at that event. Metro Transit is going to be there. And I do think it's important to have some type of outreach to the community, whether that's somebody doing surveys or whatever. But I think the way you guys are kind of going about it is kind of like you're leaving the community out of the process. There's only like a circle of groups here and there that you guys are kind of moving forward with because you have an agenda or whatever. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I know that I'm not the only organization that has this concern. So,
Well, thank you for your input there, and that is a good suggestion, because we want to make sure that we're reaching out to as much as the public as we can. We're not hiding from anybody. We are actually making concerted efforts, our direct efforts, the most efforts is right along the alignment, but we also want to get the community. So I know you mentioned talking to Joan, where we have community cohorts that are working with us, community organizations that are helping to get out the word, and they're supposed to be also as a conduit getting the word back to us, that they're hearing from the community. And we've had, quite a few public open houses that have been advertised and attended by quite a few different people where we've had discussions. So, but we want to continue that, and that's a good suggestion, and any other suggestions that we can get out into the public and even do a better job, we're open to. So thank you.
okay, thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. It looks like we're all out of time here, but we did have another comment from Kate, who said that Lynn Park has been arguing for not having it on Lindale for literally years. And Kelsey also posted on the chat the report that Nick was mentioning, the recommendation report from April of 2022, as another resource to check out. So yeah, is there anything else the speakers had to add? Otherwise, we're a little over time here, so I want to make sure people have the rest of their evening to enjoy dinner or whatever else. So, Joanna did confirm that the Blue Line extension, specifically outreach team, will be present at the West Broadway Juneteenth. So thanks for mentioning that, Michelle, and Joanna, for confirming that. So yes, thank you all for being here. And if you have any other questions, please refer back to our website or reach out to any of our outreach coordinators too, and we will be happy to talk some more.
Yeah, thank you very much for spending a lovely evening.